Joe Lubeck is the CEO of American Landmark, a company specializing in the acquisition and management of multifamily properties, primarily in the southeastern United States. Under his leadership, the company focuses on value-add investments, meaning they buy properties that need some improvements and then enhance them to increase their value. American Landmark currently owns around 34,000 units across the states like Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Texas. That's just to start. You also invest in secondary markets, I believe, and you are an executive chairman of Electra Capital, correct?
Yes, that's
All right.
correct.
Did I get the numbers right? Did I miss anything?
Well, it's now 36,000 units, but you're
Oh,
pretty good. The other thing you might add is I'm also a principal of ARC Homes for Rent, which is in the home rental business. We have 5,000 homes, and I'm also a managing partner of Electra Hospitality, which owns about 10 hotels around the United States.
nice. Are those also in the Southeast or?
No, we're in Boston, we're in New York, we're in Washington D.C., we're in West Palm, and we're in Miami.
Right. That's
Under the
right.
brand, our hotel brand is AKA.
Very cool. Okay, so here we go. Joe, could you share with us your journey from your early career? How did you get started in this? What prompted you to get started in real estate? And what were some of your pivotal moments along the way?
Oh, well, that's a great question. I could spend the next 2 hours on that, but I'll
It's
try and keep it brief. Um, Long story short, I ended up going to law school when an uncle suggested to me, if you don't know what you're going to do, go to law school. And so I did. And my ambition at that time, went to Delaware Law School with the goal of becoming a corporate lawyer in Delaware, which is, of course, the kind of corporate headquarters location for the major companies in the country. From there, I was hired as a associate counsel and then general counsel to a what was then a early, shall we call it, hedge fund that has long since been subsumed. And that company owned a number of entities in various real estate groups, including a company called Brook Properties, which was basically a rudimentary version of American Landmark, buying and selling and renovating apartments throughout the South. And after a couple of years, I said, being the counsel and COO is great, and I'm making a nice salary, but the real money is being made by the principals. So I decided to go out on my own and gave up what was a very nice corporate attorney job to buy one deal in St. Pete with my wife and one investor, and we bought 144 units. And as the rest they say is history. Initially, we used third-party management up till we got to around 2,000 units, and it started really. And then I realized how important it was to be self-managed. So we created at that time a company that was known as Landmark Residential, and we grew to 5,000 units, sold three, reinvested, grew to 10,000, sold five, reinvested, grew to 20,000, sold 10, and reinvested. And we were continuing to expand, and we were very successful in our operation by staying focused. And our focus was just mid-market apartments and just the Sun Belt. And that was in 1996 through the early 2000s. And I guess I don't know if I was smart or lucky or both, but picking the Sun Belt as our area of focus over the last 10 years has, of course, proven to be extremely lucrative, and that only accelerated during COVID. So we also then did a reverse merger and became a public company, reverse merging into what was at that time known as the Grubb and Ellis Apartment REIT. We were larger than them, but we took them over and became a public non-traded REIT. We then grew the portfolio to about 30,000 units, of which 24,000 were in the REIT. We received an offer in 2015 to sell the REIT to Starwood for about $2 billion, and we very happily said yes. And I think it worked out well for both. Had I held on another 2 years, I probably could have gotten $3 billion, but it was very profitable for myself and my investors. And my partners at Electra and I decided that we wanted to do it again. So we created American Landmark, which was the latest version. We kept the management company, kept the management team. And since then, we started doing funds instead of doing investors and working with separate managed accounts like we had done previously with Brookfield and Morgan Stanley and others. We started raising international funds, and we opened a capital markets team with offices in New York, Tel Aviv, and Dubai. And here we are with 36,000 units. So it's been a great ride, very successful. And the story to me is I love multifamily because it's predictable cash flow. And at the end of the day, our business is not apartments or hotels or homes. Our business is about predictable cash flow. And this just happens to be the mechanism by which we do it. And we found that multifamily didn't always have the highs, but it also didn't have the lows and was very predictable. And we liked that. So that's our story.
That's very first of all, that's an amazing story. It looks like Hashem led you through your ways and every step kind of just fit in. I mean, you could have made more money here and there, but it seemed like you kind of progressed and you were pushed along properly.
Yes. Well, you mentioned Hashem, which to me is probably the most important element here. First, the honoring of Hashem is why we're all here, particularly as Jews, most importantly, and to make a place for Hashem here on earth, specifically as related to businessmen. And I've been one of those businessmen. I've been lucky enough to learn how to make money successfully, but Hashem has got to be your partner in everything you do. And we make Hashem our partner. And as I say to my friends, and I encourage them about the rule of tzedakah, that you have to give till it hurts. But when you give till it hurts, not only are you the beneficiary, as you know, the giver is the real beneficiary, not the recipient, but also Hashem looks to us to be givers and to give back. And the givers get blessed with more success. And that has always happened to me in my career.
I totally agree with that. I love that you brought that up. I feel the exact same. Every time I gave, I feel like it came back 10 times more. And they say like charity is something that you can test Hashem with. That charity is the only thing you're allowed to test Hashem with. So you say, God, I'm going to be giving X amount, and you could say, I gave you this. I want this from you. And I see it in my business as well. I love that you brought that up. We see that people that we gave charity to ended up being our partners. Someone we gave charity to ended up being there for my husband when he went through a medical situation. It's unreal, like things you see that come around from giving. It's the only way. It's beautiful.
What it's all about.
Exactly. We're all here to help each other at the end of the day, right? You could accumulate wealth, you could accumulate fame, you could accumulate status, but at the end of the day, I think it's charity, helping others, and I also say raising good kids and helping our country, Israel, as
Right.
well.
And those of us who have been successful, um, the best use of that success is to further Torah, to further mitzvot, to further the success of Israel. That's always been important, and today it's more important than ever.
100%. 100%. I read somewhere that you, at the age of 40, started learning a little more, and I'm like, oh my, wow, that's like Rabbi Akiva. He started around the age of 40. He started like really delving into Torah. I thought that was such a nice, like right away, Rabbi Akiva popped into my head. And it also shows that it's never too late to just start doing what you want at any age. Want to
It's
elaborate
never
on
too
that?
late. It's never too late. And I was, a 7 holiday a year Jew up until then. And of course, I read the Torah and I understood the basics, but I never really studied and never really knew the beauty. And at the age of 40, I really started studying and connected with an amazing, amazing rabbi, Rabbi Vigler, who's at our Chabad here in Palm Beach Gardens. And first, he was willing to spend the time to enlighten me and show me how to study, was very patient with me to study, and of course, also encouraged me in that I said, oh my goodness, I've wasted the last 20 years. Think of what I could have done. And he assured me, he said, Hashem has put you where you are, where doing what you're supposed to be doing, and everything you did led to this path. And of course, as everyone who studies Torah knows, the more you study, the less you know, because the more you see that you need to learn. So one hand I say, oh, I wasted 20 years. On the other hand, I say, no, those 20 years best prepared me for the study that I do. But it's a blessing, and it's an ongoing blessing, and also to help others study. One of the things that I've been involved with is to endow a couple scholarships at some yeshivas, where those who can truly devote their youngsters, and young adults who can truly devote their life to study, where I can help empower them to do that. And again, it's a benefit. It's a benefit. I'm the one who's blessed by doing that.
That's beautiful. First of all, Rabbi Vigler, I think his wife is Kanchi.
Hana,
Hannah, yeah.
yes,
We went to school together. She's great, and I see she does like these daily. She teaches Sefer Mitzvahs like every day, another mitzvah. It's
yep,
beautiful.
she's amazing.
Yeah, they're great people. You mentioned about partnering. You're partnering with youngsters to learn, so it's like a Issachar Zebulun kind of thing that
Yes,
you enable them to learn, and you're benefiting from them. That's
right.
beautiful. I mean, as a mom of 8 in private school, tuition's expensive, so that's really, really nice. That's a really nice thing to do. But I love that we veered into the religious thing right away, and I really enjoy that. Actually, it's admirable. I see it as I see it as hand in hand. My husband's actually also a businessman and a rabbi, so I love the balance. It's really nice. It's nice to see coming from someone like you. I wanted to ask you. You mentioned that you mentioned that you could have gotten more money with Starwood had you sold later. It's always easy to look back. Hindsight is 2020. But what were some of the things looking back that you were most proud of? And not to harp on mistakes, but where could you have, like hindsight, thinking back at the bigger picture, what would you have done differently in different situations? Or things
Well,
that you're
looking back, I probably would have started earlier, bought more, a lot of things. But honestly, I don't have a lot of regrets. My
okay.
goal is to continue to learn every day. I've been blessed to surround myself with people who are absolutely smarter than I am, in many cases younger than I am, who can keep me current, who can teach me every day, and that I want to learn something new every day and understand more about business, number one. Number two is the value of partnering and the value of honesty in dealing and the value of honesty in partnering. And the partners that I had from my small investments early to my big corporate and institutional partners later to my big partners in the fund now, most of whom are institutional and sovereign wealth, always valuing and recognizing your fiduciary duty to partners and investors is an immense advantage. Also, one thing I have learned and continue to endorse is it's all about the people. Finding, training, paying, empowering the right people. A lot of people, a lot of team members in some companies get responsibility that they've got to achieve X, Y, and Z, but may not be also given the matching authority. And to really empower a team member, you have to agree on goals that are aggressive but achievable and empower them to do what they need to do to achieve those goals, give them the tools they need to achieve those goals. So those are, I think, some important life lessons. As far as my own business, I think, as my grandmother used to say, stick to your knitting. The couple times I've veered off the path of what I know to invest, they've not all gone so well. So I'm very happy sticking to my knitting, particularly in the real estate and specifically in the multifamily. Where we have veered a little bit off course more recently with hotels was frankly a basis play. During COVID, a number of investors came to me and said, How do you feel about buying some of these distressed hotels that are closed or empty as a result of COVID? I said, it's probably a great idea. They said, would you like to do it? I said, absolutely not. I'm the wrong guy. I don't know or understand the business. And I guess because of my relationship with those investors, they said, look, Joe, you've made us a lot of money. We know you. We love you. We'll put up, and we raised hundreds of millions literally in a matter of weeks. And
Yeah.
they said, um, we want you to go hire a top notch CEO to run the company. We want you to hire a top notch operator to be the operators. And we're going to invest, and you're going to be the managing partner. So that worked out very well also. But I think that was not a result of my knowledge of hotels or real estate, but the trust that I developed within the investor community. Similarly, one of the statistics I'm most proud of, aside from the money we've made, is that we've never missed a payment to a lender. And that's very extraordinary, in my opinion, and so I'm told, since 1996. Even during the global financial crisis, we made
Yeah.
all our payments, we distributed to our investors throughout COVID. We didn't take any COVID money. We made all our payments to our lenders, we distributed to all our investors. And the other important lesson that I've continued to learn, and I think has accounted for some of my success during the downturns, has been low leverage. We've always been a low leverage operator. We think that that's very important, not just for profitability, but for durability, for ability to sustain cycles. And as a result of having a great credit reputation, a low leverage ability, and a track record with investors, has allowed us, frankly, to grow during the down times. During the global financial crisis, for us, was a big time of acquisition. During COVID, for us, was a big time of acquisition. And we're seeing that now, I believe, as more and more distress comes to light. While we still have great confidence in the Sun Belt and great confidence in multifamily, a lot of people who are less experienced or over leveraged are running into problems. And those of us, perhaps who are a little have a little less hair, are maybe a little wiser in those circumstances, and hope to take advantage of it.
Yeah, definitely. We are definitely seeing a lot of distress, a lot of people losing their keys to the bank because they over leveraged. I guess people took the leverage excitement of real estate. They can leverage and buy more and scale faster, a little too extreme. We're seeing so many problems now. So to see someone that's out there and refreshing and able to actually buy more and benefit more in downturns it's actually it's amazing.
Well, real
Um,
estate, like any economy, tends to kind of be a pendulum, and you can see that over the last 6, 7 years, where there was too much being traded at too low a cap rate, with too low an interest rate, with too high leverage. So the pendulum swung this way. Then, very swiftly, the pendulum now swung the other way. And the cap rates are screwed up, and the leverage was too high. And a lot of operators, perhaps who are less skilled or over leveraged, are going to unfortunately, sadly, become dust in the wind. And
yeah,
I'm hoping, and we're starting to see it, I believe, that it will return to normalcy. And normalcy, the way I see it in my history, and it's always been up and down, but what's a good basis? Five cap, five interest rate, 65% leverage in a cash flowing real estate business will account for success. And also, people ask me, well, what's your favorite building? My favorite building is the one that has the best returns. I have no
uh,
trophies. I have nothing that I say, oh, this isn't for sale. Everything's for sale. And I've also been accused of selling too soon, and maybe Starwood was an example of that. But if I can hit a benchmark that was something we targeted and that will satisfy investors, and that we can deliver a solid return, we take the money and we reinvest. Because you never know what risk you're taking when you hold too long. I'd rather be accused of selling too soon, and that's fine.
yeah, that sounds really wise to say. You hit your mark, you set a goal, you hit it, and you go on. You don't, and then you don't. You kind of look back, but you don't because you did the right thing at the time.
That's right.
Got it. So you say the future of real estate. you predict that the ideal situation would be hitting 5 cap, 5%, 65% leverage. What else do you see of the future of real estate? What do you see the future being now based on the current situation? And what do you hope it to be? And discuss also the tax and all the insurance situation now, because we've seen a huge hike, especially in Florida.
So let me start with the last question first. When most people look at taxes and insurance in the industry, they're typically called non-controllables, as opposed to controllable expenses. Those are considered non-controllable. And I don't want to share all my secrets, although I probably would do it for a fee. But I don't want to share all my secrets. But I can tell you that we, across the American Landmark and Electra platform, have a number of strategic action plans that have allowed us to control our insurance expense, significantly so, as well as to moderate our real estate tax increases. So I don't say they're controllable, but they're certainly manageable. And we've got some proprietary devices to do that. And also, for example, in insurance, risk management is important. How you handle your risk track record is very important. And also, frankly, we do a lot of education of the insurers and reinsurers. My team and I make an annual trip to Bermuda. We make an annual trip to London. We meet with the names. We meet with the insurers and reinsurers on a very large basis. And of course, it's gotten easier the bigger we got. So that's one thing. As far as the future, of course, maybe I'm tooting my own horn, but we are strong believers in the Sun Belt, generally, for all real estate classes. And that's for a number of reasons. Yes, we have great climate, but it's not really about the climate. It's really about the tax climate, the business favorable climate, the right to work climate, and yes, to some extent, the political climate. I probably, people ask me, are you Democrat or Republican? And I say, well, I'm a capitalist. And to me, I believe that if the small businessman in the United States were not overtaxed, were not overregulated, and left to their own devices, then many of the social issues could be solved better than the government. That said, unfortunately, many of the northern cities have not learned the Laffer curve. For those of you who are younger than me, the Laffer curve was a Professor Laffer who advised Ronald Reagan and developed the theory that as you lower taxes, the revenue to the state and the federal government will increase because you're generating more business and more taxable opportunities, even though the tax is lower. And that has proven itself. It's proven the test of time. And unfortunately, as you see in New York City, and New York State and Chicago and LA, they believe that the solution is continuing to raise taxes. And in fact, their revenue goes down. As opposed to if you would lower taxes and your revenue goes up, which happens in all the southern states. So I am a believer in that. And finally, as far as the future of real estate, I think more and more it's a niche business. Things are evolving. When I started out in my real estate career, data centers hadn't even been invented. And today that's one of the darling places to invest. Industrial was kind of considered a slow, sleepy place where you didn't make a lot of money. Now you're in the last mile distribution business, and it's a huge and great place to invest. I don't know that I fully understand infrastructure investment, although people who are smarter than me, I'm sure do. And office and retail are both evolving, and eventually there will be solutions, but those have changed. But I still think real estate is a great place to be. I think it's a great place for young entrepreneurs. It's a lot of hard work. And, people ask me, what was the, main secret to my success? And I say, well, of course, Hashem, but also, they want to know what were the tricks? What were the secrets? I say, frankly, it's pretty easy. 40 years of 65-hour weeks. And it's amazing how many blessings come to you at that time. So I'm still a believer in the Sun Belt. I'm a strong believer in capitalism. And I'm a strong believer in the long term of the United States. We're going through tough times now. We're going through difficult times, particularly for the Jewish people. But there's no doubt in my mind that the good will prevail, the light will prevail over dark, and that we can, through the growth of business, continue to not only serve ourselves, but serve our communities.
100%. I love the you don't have luck without hard work. That's
Yep.
awesome. And very well said. You know, we are going through tough times. It's so hard to see what's going on around the world. And all we could do is, I guess, when we're making money, enable, you know, the assistance to to Israel, frankly, you know, to give whatever we can to help our brothers and sisters around the world.
Right.
That's all
And
we can do.
a very important thing in my view, and people say I'm, making light of it, but I'm not certainly, um, is we need to continue to spread light over the dark. We need to continue to be optimistic. We as Jews can't fight amongst each other. If you look back 5,000 years, whenever we were conquered was when we were fighting ourselves. But also, I feel the silver lining of all these dark clouds today on an international scale is remember who you are and remember who your friends are. Particularly in the United States, there's a lot of assimilation. We all felt, oh, these people are our friends and they like the Jews and we've always worked well with them. But you see, it was always there under the surface, and it really didn't take much for the hate to come back out. And we're seeing that worldwide. And that makes it all the more important that we stay strong and united as Jews.
Yeah, my husband and I were discussing that exactly last night, with the new laws that came out in Israel now. With this, we're hoping that everything stays in peace. They want to draft the religious people into the army. I'm just hoping that whatever happens, we hope that everyone stays together. Achdus is definitely the main thing. And unfortunately, last year there was a lot of internal fighting. So you're 100% right.
Yeah, and
Um,
that sets the stage, rightly or
yeah,
wrongly. And we as Jews, look, we've always had many different groups from, left-wing reform to Chabad and everything in between. And that's fine, that's well and good. Every solid interpretation of Torah, there's many different perspectives and is worth debating in a positive fashion, all well and good. But when we oppose each other without recognizing the good in all of us, we weaken the tribe.
100%. So well said. Couldn't have said it better. I'm just curious. You mentioned that, so I'm jumping back and forth, sorry, but you mentioned that you have meetings in Bermuda and London. So you're just raising international money, or you're investing internationally as well?
No, no, no. Well, our money raising is global. What I was referring to about those meetings was our methodology to control our insurance costs.
Got it. Okay,
And
I'm curious about that, but
yeah,
I'll ask you
because
a different time.
all the big insurers and all the
Yeah,
big reinsurers are located ultimately in London or in Bermuda.
got it.
And
Okay.
it requires a lot of education and a lot of presentation. In our view, we say, what makes American Landmark different than, apartment company X or apartment company Y? And look at our 10-year track record and look at how we structure our reserves and structure this and that and first loss positions. And it's pretty technical. I've learned a lot, but fortunately, I have again some brilliant, brilliant people, including Christine DePhillips, my chief investment officer, and Jim Miller, my chief financial officer, who really know and understand this stuff. And we've been doing this for years. And speaking of people like that, I've been very blessed because, for example, Jim has been with me 19 years. Christine's been with me 13 years. My COOs have respectively been with me 15 years and 8 years. So retaining great talent is a very, very important part of my role, and very important about providing the right culture and the right work environment and the right compensation to retain the best and the brightest.
Right. I also read somewhere that your employees also invest back into the company, which says a lot about you and the
Many do.
company.
Many, many
That's
do, and we share in profitability. And a lot of what we do is bonus based, from the maintenance man to me, and we really believe in that.
that's
Share our success.
that's beautiful. Yeah, everyone's encouraged to better the company as a whole.
Yes.
That's a brilliant strategy, actually. And it also says a lot about you. So I can go on. I have so many questions for you, and you're really an inspiration on so many levels on, regarding Israel, regarding learning, regarding business. It's really refreshing to see someone so encompassing and that you've actually done it and followed it and led it successfully. You've practiced, sort of what you're preaching. It's really beautiful. So I
Well,
don't want to
thank you.
keep.
We'll save something for next year. And the other thing, remember,
Yeah.
as Rabbi Vigler taught me, um, I'm now 66, and my partner said, "How many more years do you want to work?" And I said, "I can't promise you more than 20, but I hope it's 40." And Rabbi Vigler reminded me that Moses didn't start his real work until he was 80.
There
So
you
that
go.
could be an inspiration for all of us.
There you
And
go.
hopefully Hashem gives me the gift of good health that I can continue.
Amen.
And as the Rebbe used to say to many successful people, you still have work to do. Now that work may
100%.
evolve, but you still have work to do. I can't even imagine
100%.
retiring. So,
There you go.
so save me some questions for next year.
Yeah.
And next year, I promise I'll join you in person.
Oh man, a good health. It's so true. The Rebbe was never satisfied with the status quo. Whatever you did, he demanded of you more the next year. So you're spot on. We're hoping to see you next year in good health and good spirit. Continue inspiring, continue doing, and you're a true motivation to so many. And God bless you.
I'm very honored to join you and thank you so much. And all the best to you and your family.
Thank you so much. Thanks for doing this for us. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Bye
Have
bye.